My ex-wife filed for divorce thinking I was a broke veteran. She had no idea I spent my deployment investing in tech and was worth millions. When Kendra served me papers last month, she seemed almost giddy about it. Said she'd finally had enough of living paycheck to paycheck with a guy who couldn't even hold down a steady job since coming back from Afghanistan. That I was dragging her down and she deserved better than someone who spent all day on his computer doing nothing productive. I didn't argue with her assessment. For 3 years since I'd been back, I'd let her believe I was struggling financially. That my odd hours and secretive computer work were just me playing video games or wasting time online. The truth was far more complicated than she could possibly imagine. During my deployment in Kandahar, I'd spent every free moment researching cryptocurrency and tech stocks instead of sleeping or writing letters home. Bitcoin was still trading under $200 back then. Tesla was considered a joke by most investors. Apple was still recovering from near bankruptcy. I put every single penny of my combat pay into investments that my army buddies laughed at me for making. They were buying trucks and motorcycles with their deployment money, while I was buying what they called imaginary internet coins and shares in companies that might not exist in 5 years. When I came home in 2021, I kept the charade going perfectly. Continued living in the same cramped apartment, driving the same beat-up 2006 Honda Civic, wearing the same worn-out clothes from before deployment. Kendra never questioned why I didn't seem stressed about money, why bills always got paid on time despite my supposedly sporadic income from odd jobs. The divorce should have been straightforward. We'd been married 3 years, had no kids, no house, no major assets worth fighting over, or so she believed. But Kendra started acting strange almost immediately after filing the paperwork. She hired Patricia Vasquez, an expensive divorce attorney from the downtown financial district, the kind who charges $500 an hour minimum for family law cases and usually handles millionaire divorces. When I asked how she could possibly afford those fees, she said her sister Rita was lending her the money for legal costs. But Rita barely scraped by on a teacher's salary and had 3 kids of her own. There was no way she had thousands of dollars lying around to fund Kendra's divorce attorney. She also started asking increasingly specific questions about my finances, pressing for details about accounts and investments I'd never mentioned to her. Her lawyer kept demanding deeper financial discovery, requesting bank statements going back 5 years, asking about any investment accounts or retirement funds, pushing for documentation I'd never been required to provide before. They were fishing for something specific, but I couldn't figure out what. The strangest part was how desperately eager Kendra seemed to finalize everything as quickly as possible. She offered to waive alimony entirely, said she just wanted a clean break and to move on with her life. Most people in her supposed financial situation would be trying to drag proceedings out, especially if they suspected their spouse might be hiding assets. Last Tuesday, I decided to follow her after what she claimed was a routine meeting with Patricia about paperwork. Instead of going to the law office, she drove across town to a gleaming office building in the business district and met with a man in an expensive charcoal suit who definitely wasn't her lawyer. I watched them through the window of a coffee shop across the street while they sat at a conference table covered with documents and spreadsheets. Whatever was in those papers made Kendra's face go completely white. She kept shaking her head and pointing at specific sections. The man handed her his phone, and she made a call that lasted exactly 3 minutes by my count. When she hung up, they talked for another 10 minutes before she gathered her purse and left looking like someone had just delivered devastating news. That evening at home, Kendra was completely different. Nervous energy, checking her phone constantly, jumping every time it rang or buzzed with notifications. She asked me again about any secret accounts she might not know about, any money I might have saved up over the years. I gave her the same carefully rehearsed answer I'd been using for 3 years. Told her I had maybe $3,000 in my checking account, and that was literally it. She seemed almost relieved by this response, but I caught her studying my face carefully when she thought I wasn't paying attention. Yesterday morning, I checked my investment portfolio like I do every day at 6 a.m. The numbers were staggering, even by my recent standards. My cryptocurrency holdings alone were worth $2.3 million. Tech stock positions had pushed my total net worth past $4.2 million, but someone had attempted to access my main trading account from an IP address I didn't recognize. The login attempt failed because of two-factor authentication, but the timestamp showed it happened Tuesday afternoon while I was at work, and Kendra was supposedly homesick. This morning, I got a call from my broker at Charles Schwab asking if I'd authorized anyone to make inquiries about my accounts. Someone had called yesterday claiming to be my wife, asking detailed questions about liquidating large positions quickly without triggering tax penalties, and that's when I realized Kendra had somehow discovered everything about my hidden wealth, and this divorce was just the opening move in a scheme I was only beginning to understand.